I'm going to talk today about communication and how I think it belongs to all of us to work at it. As you know, Teresa is gone, and Teresa was our communication person, and we have no one taking over for her. So that means we need to use a Norwegian tradition, dugnad, and felles dugnad, to do this job. This is a picture of a British common. A lovely spot that is in common to the whole village. It's shared. The word comes from Latin, 12th century or so. Two words actually, communis and communicere, which is the verb. That's where you get communicate and communication. But maybe we also get commune in Norway, or communism. It means a felles thing. Felles thing means teamwork. We all know this guy. Some are doing more, some are doing less. Some are the violins in the orchestra, some are the tuba. But we all do the job together. So what is the goal? Communication, I think, should be an effective process, an efficient process. But I could be wrong. How many people don't feel they have enough to do today? So you're pleased at the thought that we will have more to do. And I was thinking, okay, how can we integrate another task into what we are already doing? So it's just a bit of a layer on it and not more work. Welcome to EGS. If it's not Mina or Celia or Doreen or Gunhild, this is what you see first, the web page. This is our welcome. And what is it? I'm going to start with the big picture, the context for where communication work comes in, and bring it down to the department level, what we're doing. Linchpin, there's a word. Stein said nobody knows what that means. Linchpin is like in a fire extinguisher or a hand grenade. It's a key piece, very central. And I think of the web as being the linchpin to communication at EGS. I like this picture better, the blue link in the middle, central to all the other communication. Everything refers to that as being the central piece. So the web, an action plan, what I think we could do to add to the routines you already have today to include communication as a bit of an extra dimension. And of course, we'll do some examples. That's the plan. This is the new strategy, and it talks about communication. And this is some of what it says, and I'll let you read that. And this is the key line here. En del av all fagmiljø og ansatsvirksomhet. Ouch. And Siri took you through the new communication plan that's being worked on at the department, but here are the important parts. Informere, we use that word. Rekrutere. That's the big picture. We have to do this job. It's part of our job description. So how are we going to do it? What are we going to look at? Well, I'm thinking we have a numbers game. You've heard about these numbers. not exactly our numbers, but we have to have a certain number of students. We have to recruit a certain number, different for the different programs. Some have too many, some have not enough, but somebody here knows those numbers. You know how many we need to have. We can also talk about researchers. We need to recruit enough researchers. There's a balance there between how many staff we can have and do we have enough to cover the research. We want to get partners. So we have a numbers game that we have to play in order to survive. You know this picture. This is deficits. We have one of those too. And I would like to say, from someone who has nothing to do with economy, I am really, really impressed at how the economy people here and CERI's leadership are working with this situation, trying to strum it in, get a handle on it. I think we're clearly going the right way, but it takes time. But the hard reality is the future is not going to get better. There's not going to be more public money. There's not going to be more money from the faculty or money from that number is going to get down every year. So we have to find new funding sources. We need new projects. We have to do that. We have to recruit the numbers that we need. We have to bring in money. And communication is the key to those two tasks. Studea, we have a group of Studea people here. I have an economy team. This is center leaders, project leaders. It's a bit of an amorphous group. In fact, many people wear many hats. Reception, we don't really have pure reception. People wear many hats, but you'll forgive me if I kind of generalize here. And there were some people I couldn't put anywhere. And right in the middle, we have CERI, the conductor, bringing us all together. This is our administration. And we communicate inside those groups and between those groups and with all the rest, the researchers, the students, all the other people. And CERI spoke about internal communication, which I'm not really going to talk about today. I think we do, in my opinion, having worked in many places, I think we do okay. Could be better, but I think we do okay. We have meetings in each group. We have once a month meetings between groups, allowing for groups to communicate together. Not bad. The newsletter, CERI said we're going to work further on that, linking groups that work in different places, profiling activity. Certainly the newsletter needs looking at, but it is something. It's not bad. It cuts down the number of mails. Elinor has been working on a funding newsletter, a funding mail that comes out. Good idea, bringing in that information. And there are some emails, but we're working hard to reduce how many there are. We're not going to talk about that today. I think it's working. We need to keep looking at it over time. We're going to talk about this one, external communication. And as I said, focusing on recruitment. I'm reviewing here. We've got students, researchers, partners, people we're working with, colleagues. How are we going to, tverrfaglig? That's the new cool. We want to have tverrfaglig projects, so we need to recruit people who can work with us that way. Information. It's a plicht, it's a responsibility to inform society, and we have an easy job. Some of our research is really important and central to people's health. So it should be really easy to communicate that. Again, I talked about this tverrfaglig, cross-disciplinary, between research groups working together, between departments, between faculties, other institutions. I'm going to keep mentioning this word because I think we have to be aware that another important group of people looking at our web are the evaluators of applications. Once the application goes in, then there's a whole team of external evaluators, and it's important that you remember they're external, so they're often not Norwegian, that are going to look at EGS. Is EGS a department that can handle this project? They're looking at us, and we have to show them that we can. So it's not just an application, it's the whole department is being evaluated. And that's something we need to take into account here. That's a very important driver to communication. The linchpin, the web, let's have a look at it. And I think I've got it here, let's see. Our homepage. Now, traditional web communication says scrolling is bad. But honestly, I don't know what else we can do with the constraints we have. We didn't make the decision about the web page. It's a tool. It was decided on for uniformity across the university. It is what we have. What we can do is the best out of this. I think this text here is not bad. It's pretty short, says all the important things, includes all the important links. It's okay. This list seems long, but hey, we are a big department. We have a lot of research groups and a lot of centers, and here they all are. I think that's fine. But what I would like to focus on is this part, the stories. That's what we can change. That's what we use to profile, and it's right there on our front page. What stories are we going to have there? This is a closer look of what it was last week. There are 5. And you can see Health Campus, that's a bit general. 1, education, a new MOOC. 3, research. 1, 1, 3. Is that the proportion we want? Or maybe that was good last week, but there's a date coming up, the 15th of April. How does this reflect that date? That's what we can be discussing today. That's what we can work on. How does this represent our work, our year? And you know, years go round and round. There are seasons, and the same things happen every year. We have application deadlines. We have school start. We have utdanningsdag. We have faglig pedagogisk dag. The same things happen every year. Sometimes there are different things, but in a general way. I think this could be a great organizing tool for us to look at our work. Each group. We've got the 15th of April coming now. 24th of April, there's NFR. School starts up in August. Budgeting in December, we have to wrap up project. These things happen every year. And you in the groups know these dates. And you could write them out on a timeline. What are the key dates? It's not easy to work in a circle. So I think we should work in a line. And I'm going to look at the first example. it could be anything, but I'm taking the 15th of April, which is coming up now, the application. Cast in stone, there it is. But we don't want the web to have those stories also on the 15th of April. You have to think back in time. And maybe you're thinking of the open house day, and you need to have stories for that. 2 months, is that enough time to get stories out about education? I don't know. You decide. But think, how long do we want these stories coming out? And stories don't just come out all of a sudden. You have to plan for them earlier. And so you have to sit down in the autumn and say, April's coming. What are we going to do? What information do we need to have there? What do we want to do to look like the place for students? Concrete info, what do they need to know? Attractive info, stories, interviews with students who are here, talking about new courses. You know, the new med course, there is a story I am dying to tell out. I think it is so exciting that the University of Bergen has a new medical program. Why? Are we the first? Are we a pioneer? Great, great. Are we following a successful model? Well, good, we're smart. You know, why? Why are we doing that? What is new? Where is the information about that on our front page? You, in reception, dealing with students, you know there are neat students. You just know this student is a pain in the butt. They come all the time, but they have a story. Write that name down with the email. Those are the people we want to contact about their experience. Go the next step. Think communication. There is an interesting student. Let's get that story, because that's a story we can be putting on the web to share with other people. Contact information, yep. Was it last week? 2 weeks ago, when we had the meeting at Kalfalveien for administration, I went in the office and there was this huge mound of video cameras. I thought, where's my camera? I mean, what a great picture. You put that on the front page and people are saying, what? You know what? People are interested. What the is going on here with all these? It would have been a great story. We are using these in this, you know, it would have said how interactive we are, that we're using modern equipment, that here is a class that would be fun to be with. Think pictures. It's just a layer on top of what you are already doing. Think, how could this be used to communicate what we are doing? These are, you know, you're going to have little deadlines as you work along. Okay, this, okay, this, okay, this. I got carried away with my circles. The thing about seasonal work is to take your fixed dates and work backwards and set deadlines in that context. And how far in advance do you want to have things ready? Second example, economy. They're sitting here saying, yeah, communication has nothing to do with us. One of the things that I think about the economy group, first of all, I've said how great it is. With, you know, you've been having these regular meetings, you've been getting on top of the deficit situation, tightening up routines. Great, impressive. And then I thought, routines. We put a communication routine on that. You know, you have the new projects. When a new project comes in, the application goes in your thing, the contract goes there, the annual reports go there. It's all in one place. So if we added a little project template there, the title, the researchers involved, the dates, the funder, and you copy and paste the abstract and description, copy and paste the annual paragraph about, and we turn it into a web page about the project. It all is right there. I have never worked at a group that had things so organized and would make that step so easy. And those projects are so important to have out on the web. Did I make the point? So here we are. You know, do you want to get information out 2 months before, 1 month before, what the researchers have to do, what the CIRCNOD process is, what the support is? Plan. We've done all this before. You're doing a good job getting information for researchers, having those seminars, getting it out. We want to keep flagging that information. Information for researchers. I spoke before thinking about the web is going to be open to evaluators. So for this project, what are the other projects? Oh, shoot, they didn't have a project page. Okay, let's get that ready. You know, who is going to be looking at this project? That's here. You start planning. I talked about project descriptions. In the Studia thing, once we have the registration date or the day, that's sort of the end of the process. But for projects, for research, once we have the deadline, that really is sort of midway. That's when the focus goes from inside to outside. And this red arrow that I had here, that's what I want to talk about. We have to think about making sure that our web stands after the deadline, that our web is in action. And I don't know, the time between submitting the application and getting the answer is 2, 3, 4 months. So we have a period where we know that people are going to be looking at us after the application, and we want to make sure that we're worth looking at for that period. Okay, the last one I wanted to talk about, conferences. How many people have been involved in conferences? It's a real piece of cake, isn't it? Nothing. What a lot of work, an enormous amount of work. But conferences also are a unique communication opportunity. It's not very often that you get to hear researchers talking about their work, that you are able to talk with researchers informally, that you get teams together in one place and can take a group picture. Very important, think pictures, think, you know, how are we going to use this? That you have researchers who normally are in other countries or in other places here at a conference. So a conference is a unique communication opportunity. You know my theme, we have to work backwards. Web stories before. Now in conferences, the web stories before will largely be dates. There'll be calendar items. When do you have to register? When do you have to submit abstracts? Last chance registration, those sorts of stories. And planning starts a year in advance, organizing everything. The stories. Are you having an interesting guest keynote speaker? Somebody that it is an amazing thing to have here at Bergen? Or is it one of our own researchers and this is a unique chance? The stories. Who are going to be there and how are we going to present the special chances we have to communicate this information? Get the names, get the contact information. Think pictures. This is such a wonderful picture opportunity to get pictures that can be used in many contexts, but you've got them there. Sitting ducks, all you have to have is a camera. Social media. Siri talked a little bit about social media. It's important in conferences to have a plan for social media. Many people are involved in Twitter. There's quite an academic twittering from conference. Okay, who's going to Twitter? You take that story. Okay, I'll go here and take this one. Okay, have a plan. Decide how that day is going to go. Look at the program. and see how you're going to cover that conference. The faculty has a Facebook page. We can be advertising the conference on that Facebook page. Thank goodness we don't have one ourselves. They can do that. In a conference, it doesn't stop there. A conference is a huge splash, and then if you do nothing more, the water is flat again, and you don't know anything happened. So think. Don't be like the farmer who closed the barn door after the horse left. Think about the stories you want before, so that you can plan and get all those good stories afterwards, so that your conference lives on. A calendar event disappears, but your stories, the reports, will be up on the web, visible, searchable. So we only have 5 stories. Now you've got so many ideas, we're going to ask for more places. 5 is not enough. But we have to decide what 5 they are. The priorities will change at different times of year. That's maybe one of the things we can take up every month at the administration meetings. What will be the stories coming up this next month? What I wanted to finish here, the end of my action plan part, we're just practical work. I thought, how are we going to organize this? It was mind-boggling. It's more than my little brain could take. But I thought, you guys are professional, amazingly professional people. I'm so impressed. Experienced administrators. You know how to structure and organize things. I leave it to you. I've made a possible idea in OneNote. There are pros and cons with using OneNote. This is under Vermiddeling. We could have a calendar. We could do it by year and have each month the stories. Calendar year, academic year, oh, that's another discussion. Putting in the stories here and the contact information and who's going to follow up. Those kind of things. I don't know. That's what you guys can talk about in the work groups. How are we going to organize and add this to the routines we have today to keep this as smooth? Communication is a black hole. There is always more you can do. You are never finished, like much of our work. But we had a context. It's part of our job description. We have to do it. We have some challenges at EGS. We're working on how we're going to do that together from the different groups. Linchpin, the web. Action plan. My suggestion is to think an annual cycle. And I think together we're going to cross that. It's our plan. It's part of the plans we already have, the routines we already have. So in your groups, I would like you to focus on the årshjul, the annual cycle that's relevant to your group, and the web pages that are relevant to your group, and I've made a list of some of those. There's the bottom line. We are all responsible for communication. It's a teamwork. And I think we can do it together. That was my little talk. Thank you.